I'll get there.
So we got salaries are simple. I put 6% in there, and, notice we're going with 5, so no problem there. One addition that I did add is a bump to admin assistant, a $5,000 bump. If you remember last year, I asked for a $10,000 bump to bring her to market for her 10-year service. That was cut in half to $5,000, and so I'm just asking for the other $5,000 this year, taking it from the part-time of the buildings budget. So no new money. So it's all new money.
Trying to
As far as, and that's it on salaries. So I will say that I would love while we're looking at it, that we look at our maintenance and our custodians.
That'd be the next one. He's on his regular mayor's budget on page.
Yeah, that would be a different budget, so I want to make sure I throw it out there.
what page?
Well, his next budget is on page 40 for county buildings, and it's probably like A9 for salaries.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's archives.
It is A8, I apologize.
All right, so if we can look at that with the market. So if there is an opportunity to help them, I know they would appreciate it. But I haven't.
I have a question. The custodian and the janitor we hired before, when did they start working?
Pardon me?
The ones that we added last year for the courthouse, when did they start working?
I don't have the exact hire date.
It'll be up there if we know which one.
Look at the latest one.
Probably be, would it be September 23, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking.
Or there's a January 24, I'm sorry, it may be first.
So looking at the custodians with the requested addition that you asked, they look to be right in.
Okay. I haven't looked at it, so.
I'm looking at, if you guys go to page 5, I did it with, Public Works Building Maintenance. Hold on a minute. No, that's supervisor.
Manages 90,000.
No, that's not custodian, equipment operation and maintenance custodian, that's where I went through. That's equipment, but you got down to the bottom, 35,000. And then you have custodian maintenance worker, which is 42, which is a little bit above, so you're in there. Your maintenance workers are in there. With the, I don't know, they look to be pretty close.
Nope.
Your maintenance workers may actually be a little bit high.
What are you looking at, Dick? What I'm saying, and this may help Matt out a little bit, when you're looking at them, the medium's probably usually like a 7 to 10. The top end, like say if you're looking at 48, would be closer to the 30-year person on the average, and then at the far left, like a new person, should medium in somewhere closer to that 33.
Well, so I'm looking at the 42,000. I mean, that's
318, is that what you're
And it has IDT, so it don't have anything but that one.
yeah, that's kind of, that looks to be about right.
42 about in range, yeah.
So 40, but I mean, some are over, right? I mean,
The maintenance of the top group, they're all.
they seem to be.
Keep on with the top group, we got a lot of public work.
The maintenance are all 42. The rights, here, custodial / maintenance worker, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Looks like we're actually.
But they've got some time, and
under there.
if they got time and tenure, then they would be on the higher past it a little bit.
Right. Thank you for reviewing that.
And then you got your bottom one is your custodians, which would be probably the 35 mark there. That's about right.
Well, I mean,
Well, we don't have time for that.
I would like to do, I mean, we can talk about it when we get into there. I am, to be consistent, I mean, I get it. Like, we were talking about trying to get them up to 18, but we'll talk about that one.
Yeah.
We'll do that when we hash through here.
And always remember these numbers are about a year old. So,
But I mean, we're talking.
well, there's something like that out there on the year before, about a year.
John, sorry, go ahead. Anything else on that?
Any questions y'all may have? It's,
And then this next budget after that one
Oh,
is
well,
on page.
Is anybody gonna ask about the?
What is County Building Central Services
Yeah.
Director? What is that?
okay. I'm going to bring Josh up. This is something that Josh and I have been talking about. I'm going to get Josh to explain it to you because he does a much better job than I do.
Thank you, Mayor. So what this is, as y'all may know, my background before getting into county government and state government, that was in local government. Where I worked as assistant town administrator for a municipality about 50,000 people out in West Tennessee. And so one of the things that kind of, I don't know what the right word is, kind of targeted.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that, I won't say shocked exactly, but one of the things that continues to intrigue me, I guess, about county government is just that it really is fundamentally set up in a way that is much different than professionally managed organizations like Town of Collierville, Germantown, some other jurisdictions across the state, Maryland, Franklin. And one of the things that really differentiates county government, I think, from a lot of those local governments, and Sumner County government in particular, and I'm going to show why it's not all county government, Sumner County government is, there's a lot of functions that exist for buildings and very, very, very important things where there is no professional who's assigned to actually be in charge of it. It just kind of is run, I don't really know how it runs, to be honest with you. And I remember having this conversation with Anthony Holt back when he was in office. It was one of many things that we were talking about county government and that kind of thing. And he would always say, Josh, it's just how it is. You're never going to change it. You're never going to change it. That's how it is. So it's always been, this is the way we do it. So being me, I try every once in a while to push the rock up the hill and talk about different ways to do things. And so, I mean, I'm a big believer in elected leadership. I mean, obviously that's crucial. That's the fundamental, foundation of our democracy. But I'm also a big believer in professional implementation. And no offense to you all, that you're all politicians. You all got elected to office. You're politicians at the end of the day. And sometimes politics and effective implementation get in the way of each other. And y'all been in office long enough now to see that probably. And so, what happens is, and what I've seen happen, when I started, elected officials being in charge of projects essentially day to day, building projects, big building projects. I've never saw that before. If you go to T.2, where I used to work, you'll never have a state senator that's in charge of a road project for T.2. Doesn't happen. There's a professional engineer or somebody that's in charge of it. Municipal government, the same
Like
way.
a project manager?
Right. And so usually that's going to be somebody that works for the city or the entity in one way or another and is an employee that's accountable. And what that does is it ensures a lot of accountability across administrations because mayors come and go, county commissioners come and go. Unelected bureaucrats, on the one hand, you can become entrenched and maybe represent their own interests over the public's. But at the same time, when you're talking about policies and you're talking about effective implementation, having somebody that knows what the heck's going on is very important when new leadership comes into office. And so, that direct professional management of large capital projects is very important. Managing the staff day to day. Granted, there are a lot of offices in county government that manage staff day to day. But having a professional do that, there's something to be said for that as well. But one other thing, though, that I think is very important, if I look at the planning commission, not to brag on the planning commission or anything like that, but planning commission has professional staff that works for the planning commission. Has a complicated role, obviously, reporting to the mayor, but reporting to the planning commission and taking care of things for the planning commission. the General Operations Committee is a committee here at the county that doesn't have a professional liaison, the way that the Planning Commission does, Board of Zoning Appeals does, or any number of other entities do. And so having that professional to be able to go to make reports, to keep up with things, to know the technical details of what needs to happen, what can happen, what's legal, what's not legal, those kinds of things. I think the General Operations Committee doesn't have that at all. And so what we're put together here, and I'll hand this out. Don't cut that one out right there.
Hey, go ahead. I have a comment.
So what I did was, and so, you know, when you're looking at, I'm a big believer in peer review, peer analysis, what other people do. It's one of the things that my boss taught me at the time I called people. If everybody else is doing it, you're not doing it, that's okay, but ask yourself why. If you're doing it and nobody else is doing it, ask yourself why. It's okay, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. But what I kind of realized pretty quickly in looking at this, because I didn't really know where this was when I started, when I look at our peers, and when I talk about peers, I'm not talking about Trousdale County, I'm not talking about Macon County, I'm talking about Williamson County, Rutherford County, Montgomery County, Wilson County. Those are our peers, not Davidson County, they're not our peers. They all have this. So that was the central services concept. It exists in one way or another. Everybody calls it something different, maybe puts it together a little differently. But each county has it, and they have it on the website. There's a director, a professional that works for the county that you go to that manages all this for the county commission and the mayor. And so what I did was I just had information on that's just from their website showing you where all those counties have that position. And then I took a look. I called their HR directors at all these different jurisdictions and tracked down salaries and got them to send me salary studies. Montgomery County and Rutherford County have both done salary studies. If y'all want those at some point, I'll be glad to send them out to you. And looked at what they make. Williamson County, as one might expect, is up there at the top of the range at about 120. Wilson County is down around 90. Is what their facilities director makes. So this is some information there where I put the salaries those people make, or if I have a salary survey, the midpoint range is what I put. It's a little bit better information. And so, as you'll see on this sheet here, that's what all those make. And as I noted there, Sumner County, it doesn't exist at all. There is nobody. It's Sumner County as opposed to those other jurisdictions who does it. And so, this is just a conceptual work chart that I put together that shows what it would look like. And so with this concept, of course, it reports to the county mayor. If y'all heard my work chart yesterday, Planning Commission, BZA, or kind of these little things that tie into my position. General Operations Committee ties into this one, providing the review body, basically the body that it reports to. Similar to how the Planning Commission, I work with the Planning Commission month to month, day to day, report to the mayor. This person would too. So the orange you see there represents a new position. The rest of these positions are existing positions in one way or another. Allocating presumably somebody from the mayor's office for an admin assistant. The capital project administrator is Ms. Northleaf. And facilities and grounds manager is the existing staff that we have in facilities.
Hey, Josh, I got a couple comments on this. I know a lot of people will. So, oh man. So first off, I'm going to teach you. You're an excellent professional, but man, you should work in DC. You make more money. Seriously, like this is what guys in DC do. And you know the deal. I mean, you said what professionals do. You said it right. So, this is a double-edged. So it's Terry, you and I. This is not dissimilar to what you and I were talking about having a PMO shop, right? I mean, this is a little different, but it's not. It's in the same vein. Let me finish real quick on this one. I've got a couple.
What's a PMO shop?
Project management office. Oh, okay. We've got all this PMO project management going all over the county.
I don't think we have any actually.
Well, you're probably not wrong, but it's being done by some random people.
That are not qualified.
They have it professionally done. I get it. Like, I totally get it, and we are clearly, several of us are already kind of going down this path, at least in thought. There is a downside to that, though, and the downside is always long-term, like road to hell is paved in good intentions kind of thing. When we do this, you mentioned exactly what happens over time. Over time, bodies like this start to wash their hands of it, and you end up in a situation where, and I'm not saying I'm against this, I'm laying out both cases. What is the number one thing that I think anybody here would say that we really detest about government? And it's unelected people acting by fiat. We were just talking about one yesterday where we have a government organization, Department of Labor, acting by fiat, which has caused considerable problems with our existing budget by changing definitions and thresholds for exempt versus non-exempt status, right? So, like, I get it that that's very different levels here, but it's the same problem. So the question is going to be for us, if we choose to do this, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm only laying out that there is an immediate thing, which I think where we will see immediate positive impacts. I have Mr. Long to go to your point. Like, I have Mr. Long to go to, this body has Mr. Long to go to with a very professional team that does a very professional job. You have Mr. Sumner with the legislative body. General operations doesn't have anybody to go to, and it's not, you can say you go to the county mayor, but it is a bit of a different executive role. So I have no doubt that in creating this, that we will see immediate gains. And I have no doubt that in 2 years, 4 years, that person will see a need for 2 more people. And that person will see a need for 4 more people. And before you know it, you have a very, very powerful body. So I'm just laying out the pros and the cons of this. And that's my comments.
That's with any bureaucratic model, and that's where it's your job to keep that in check.
So I've seen in past minutes, because that's just what I do for fun, read past minutes. And I believe Mr. Holt put a resolution forward that had capital project management and reporting requirements, best practices, I think what he called it. It's been a moment since I passed that up. It was probably late one night. But Mr. Holt has, somewhere we can find it in the resolution, best practices for capital project management and reporting. So apparently he was doing something. I mean, it's not my, I got enough committees. I'm not on general ops. So I didn't bring it and say, hey, somebody go do this work. But
You sure it wasn't a long-term claim for capital from GFOA that I put out?
I don't know.
Because there's actually a GFOA recommendation that we adopted
I
for
think
long-term
Mr.
capital.
Holt, anyway, what are we up to? I think Mr. Holt was doing it. Maybe you're saying he wasn't doing it well enough, he was too busy.
I'm not saying, no, I'm not.
I'm sure.
That's not what he's doing better. How's John doing?
No, I'm saying that.
I mean,
I'm
Susan has
saying
been
that-
doing it, we've been here over 100 years, Susan's
What,
been doing
right,
it.
what I'm saying is that.
We don't do it well.
Well, anytime.
We don't do it much. So it's
The county mayor, there's nothing in the Constitution of the state that says the county mayor shall be an expert in building maintenance. There's nothing, that's not a phrase that appears in the Constitution.
Did you read what was under
Actually,
commission?
does. It says it's among other duties, the county mayor's duty to have the care and custody of all county property.
That's right.
I mean, that's a statute, John.
That's right. But carrying custody is, I would differentiate
Is in
that from
court.
being an expert. Right, I differentiate that from being an
Is in
expert.
court.
Right. And so, Anthony had his role in terms of the way he did things in the county buildings, and John has his. The next person may get elected and has never even put a roof on their house. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can run for office and win. That doesn't make them an expert.
Who's
And so,
the project manager over, let's say, Liberty Creek, since that was our last school? I mean, that's where our big projects are. and
That's a school project.
School, that'd be done.
Right, I'm asking you, so what does their planning department look like?
They don't have a.
They have a project manager,
They
most
have-
of them?
Right, but now they have a guy.
They have Don Long over there, doesn't it?
Don Long is who that is.
He has staff?
Maybe, I mean, yes.
I mean, they've got-
They have, I mean.
They've got the majority of our
yes.
money,
I don't know if he
majority
has
of the
some.
capital, I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
I
what do
mean,
they
like,
do?
when we run into asbestos issues or something like that in a building, we can call over to the school But basically what I'm saying is, you know, like the courthouse facility, for example, right? That's a $90 million project that fell into essentially Ms. Norman's lap. She was really the project manager.
So we are, excuse me, guys, we are a bit behind. And thanks, Chrissy, for reminding me. Are there any other, thank you, Mr. Sutter. Are there any,
I have some questions.
okay,
I put my page down, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
You'd like me to do them later. I'd like to know, in general, overall, I'm just looking at pest control, and I got to thinking, do we have, Mr. Long, this will be for you, pest control, do we have one contract for the whole county? Do we get the best buy on it?
We bid those contracts for large ones.
Is it just one contract for the whole
I
county?
don't think so, I'd have to go back and look.
Or does everybody do their own?
I
Any
can't,
money we can make?
I can't recall. We bid certain ones, but I can't remember if they're all done together or not off the top of my head.
Anybody interested in finance, trying to find us money and putting together one big contract for pest control?
Well, I can tell you this,
Well, Dawn's got something.
when I was inspecting homes, part of that was for termites and stuff, pest control's an inflated thing. I mean, prices are all over the place. So you're gonna pay, I don't know who I think I know who they're using here, and I can tell you, I'm not gonna mention their name, but their prices typically are gonna be up at the top of the spectrum, where if you
So, Dawn, can you take a look at all our pest control countywide and figure out if we need one contract, how we can say,
we're getting
yeah.
you're getting, I'm just saying, she mentioned it,
I know,
we can look at
Gary,
it.
I got, do we have a shredding contract?
Do we have a shredding contract? We're getting one.
No, we
No,
pay for it, no.
Well, I mean, it's a cost, I'm just wondering where it's at each office.
Each office pays it, we have a shredding day in the past, but there's not really a large amount of dollars involved, and then the shredders that we used at one time were actually for disc and stuff, and had to certify them, so.
I just wonder if we have
All right,
a cost.
anything else?
Cost has been not enough to do it.
Did you have a?
I was wondering, did we go over what the maintenance agreement was for? I mean, it's $258,000, but if we don't have time.
No, I mean, that was,
Most of those are, I can answer what.
yeah,
I
we
just
can
wanna
answer
look.
that.
Most of them are for like HVAC, or what are the humors, some of it, there's a whole big stuff we do here. Because we don't have an HVAC person, so there's all that stuff we outsource.
Yeah, we have a contract with Comfort Group.
Elevator,
I just
fire
wonder what it was.
extinguishers, oh my goodness, there's like, fire extinguishers, elevators, HVAC,
So it went up 60,000?
we added the new building over there, the big courthouse.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, that was
Makes sense.
a big portion of it. I think, the mayor mentioned that to me, it was gonna be going because of courthouse.
Any others?
What's this addition?
Primary increases Comfort Group, Beacon Technologies.
Go ahead, Bob.
What's this addition of $10,000 under legal services?
Oh, I removed that.
We needed, and there was the one in the other, there was actually
Under county court clerk.
circuit.
Yeah. Any else? All right. Thanks, John. Anything, any closing notes? Thank you, sir. Okay, volunteer fire department.
When it's an issue, we're gonna do a presentation, we're gonna have to pull those down the budget.
If no one minds, I've got a real short PowerPoint presentation. All I need is a little table thing that you got approved me. It's not a problem.
He's gonna have to be a reattach it, I know, but.
He had just stepped out for a second, I'm sure.
He's gotta be here to hook us back up for this then.
Either way. Oh, absolutely, my friend. I'm sorry.
They are on page number 62. Yeah. You're on page 62.
I'm so sorry for this. I know y'all like a lot of numbers, and I want to give you one.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment. I know that's what I came from. Spoiled ending. All right. Well, first off, thank you for letting me come up here and speak. I know we don't normally get this much time for all of us, so I'll try to be brief and give you what I can. First off, you're getting some handouts. I think Chief McLaughlin printed out. A couple different things. One is the contract that we've been, curious about, we've been asking for a few months. You all should have received it in your emails already, but, there's just another handout, because I know y'all love paperwork. Also, there's another copy of our, CTAS report. There's multiple pages in there that will, explain some of the benefits of funding us and the legalities of how you can fund us. That's been a question in the past. And lastly, a couple slides on the PowerPoint at the very end that give you some numbers I know y'all want to see. Also, I've been talking here for a few months, but just so you know who I am, my name is Brad Williams. I'm the full-time training officer at White House Community Volunteer Fire Department. I've kind of been railroaded to be the representative of the Sumner County Volunteers to speak with you all about all of us as a collective. I've been a volunteer firefighter for 25 years. I was full-time White House for 18 years until I took this position. Also worked for Robertson County EMS for 4 years, so I've been around all the different aspects, full-time, volunteer, and city, for this, and, also very involved with Robertson County as well. So I've been around the block a few times with this. My first set of numbers are, I want to compare Sumner County to where our funding is compared to other counties in our size relative to population. If you look here, in total population, Sumner County has around 200,000 in the entire county. If you look at just the rural areas outside of city limits, we're looking somewhere around 68,000 people. That's a rough number, but that's pretty close. I think that's also a 2020 census, so it's a few years old. If you look at our funding we've been getting, which is $450,000 in total, that brings us around $6.59 per citizen. If you look at compared to some of the others that do the same way, I mean, you're looking already how far down we are. Macon County is the closest to us. They have an entire population of less than a quarter of what we have, and they're funding around the same range. If you get to the bigger counties, counties that are closer to our size, like Montgomery, 260,000. So technically your county population here is even less than ours. You're looking at, $5 million. Where they're running the whole county fire department with full-time staff. So just to give you an idea of where we are compared to others. Stay along that same line, if you go even bigger, some more counties that surround us, every county here, we are third as far as lowest funded with population. If you look at Williamson County, is a little bit of an outlier. They are $685,000 is what they give to their volunteer fire department. They only run 3 volunteers, but that only goes to their day-to-day operation. The county themselves pays for every station, every piece of apparatus, every piece of equipment, every SCBA, all their major capital expenses. Williamson County pays for. They only pay for their day-to-day. So again, you can just see the vast amount of differences. And this is the last page on your handout that I gave you, so you can go back and reference. See here, just so you know where we are, this is a real quick map of where our fire zones are in the county. The little boxes, of course, are our fire zone. The big yellow box around each one is 5 miles, which is where your ISO rating really comes into effect. So you can see how much of the area of the county we are covering. This one, it's a little harder to see on this TV. But this is an overlay of where the volunteer fire departments serve versus your city municipalities. So the red boxes down here are your city fire departments. There's Millersville, Villageville, Newsomville, Gallatin. And that's that corridor right there. Of course, the city White House is up here. A lot in Robertson County, and Portland is up in the top. With Portland, they have added another station that just was added, but it doesn't overlap very much. If you notice, though, all the green that has no other support out there, especially on that northern end of the county, that's where there is no backup. It is just us. So there is no, if something major was to happen, well, we just call Gallatin. Well, Gallatin's 30, 45 minutes away.
But can I ask you, over on the Macon County side, do they have a volunteer fire department kind of close to our line?
They have some over that direction.
You know, like the west side area?
Oh, of course. It's just not.
Well, they back you up. They would back you up.
You got to walk me to it.
It's not to hear that they're out there.
Oh, of course. No. I'm not saying they're not protected. I'm just saying there's no municipality right there that has quick backup and a lot of full-time personnel. And just to overlay one more map, because I love maps, there's EMS overlaid with us, those same numbers. And again, you can see the majority of your EMS stations are, again, in this very big corridor, where a lot of your population is as well. But there's a lot of areas where your volunteers are a lot closer than your EMS services. So, just to go along with a few missed opportunities we've had for funding, last year we were budgeted $1.2 million as a line item inside of the budget itself. This was not a donation, it was a donation, excuse me, but it was on top of the normal donation we received. One fire truck was purchased of that $1.2 million, cost $500,020, $530,000 for Highland. After that, the $680,000 that was remaining went back into the budget. We never saw another dime of it. Oak Grove was given a new station that came out of the ARPA funds. And so the rest of that $680,000 that we had potential to split or use for other capital projects inside the fire department, we lost.
So why did we lose it? You guys.
Well, we lost it, you didn't. It went back into your general fund.
Okay.
But it was decided that night, that to happen.
We don't let us spend it.
Yeah, it just kind of went back into the general fund.
Okay.
So the dangers of not increasing funding, we have, of course, been hit with a lot of inflation, just like everybody else has. Everything's gotten more expensive. The fire truck that we use at my station, one of our primary engines, in 2010 cost $250,000. We are buying a replacement for that at this time, costing $650,000. So just to give you an example of how much inflation has hit us, we've had some issues with some local fire departments around us that are city departments that have volunteer firefighters with them. Millersville had a political issue causing all their firefighters to walk out. Because of that, now they only have 1.5 firemen, and so their ISO rate will probably increase. I mention that because if you have an issue with funding and a fire department does lose that funding or just can't survive on the current rate that they have, and they do leave, the ISO rate will go up. It's also going to hurt your EMS staffing, which I'll take in a little bit. Here it is. Once Millersville lost that staffing, they immediately had to put a supervisor at that EMS station. So instead of running the normal ALS trucks with 2 people on 1 ambulance, because they had no first responders there to assist them, for a long time they had to run 3 personnel. They had to run your normal ALS truck plus a supervisor on every call because they need that extra hand, which is what volunteer firemen do all over the county area. So if there's no volunteer fire service, then your EMS costs are going to go up because you have to have more hands on a call. Cross Plains is another example. They are a city fire department that is mostly volunteer. They just this year hired their first full-time personnel that's dedicated to the fire department. But their increase was, their ISO went up to a 10 because of lack of volunteers and training hours they were able to get. Which, of course, a higher ISO means higher bill to the homeowner for insurance purposes. A couple more dangers. The fire department doesn't have as much time as we used to go after donations. We've got an increase in training hours that are required by the state. I know ISO, again, requires 220 hours just for firefighting training alone, plus 100 hours a year for medical training to get your medical license. And all these other regulations that we have to go with. If y'all haven't seen the new OSHA regulations that are possibly coming for volunteers, it is a nightmare of what they're going to request of us that we couldn't afford if we wanted to. More citizens are requesting assistance. Our call volumes are really increasing. I know White House Community Arts has gone up 25% over the past year. And of course, EMS is needing more help with longer responses. Because I've been doing this full time in the rural areas of my zone since November, I have been on scenes for 15, 20, 30 minutes in Sumner County with no ambulance because of just how much they are having to pick up and how many calls they're having at one time. And so volunteers, we want to fight fires and help people. We just can't ask for money and sit on the side of corners with our buckets and just hopefully somebody comes by and donates. So why we want to do this and why decreasing your ISO rate, why that is so important and what this funding will go towards, is the more funding that it helps decrease of ISO will help homeowners on their premiums for insurance. So using this method, we are actually revenue positive for the citizens. You may give us $6 per person, or in this formula I'm going to show you here in just a little bit for our funding, we're asking for $130 per million in home values. But real quickly, we're going to get that money back to that citizens on their homeowners insurance and their premiums. So if you look how we can lower these ISO ratings by replacing outdated apparatuses, because Sumner County Fire firefighters have been really running on a razor's edge for so long. There are so many of us that have outdated equipment. Gallatin has a 30-year-old engine that they're trying to take back together. Oak Grove just had one that went down that is no longer worth fixing. They had a maintenance issue, and it's just too old to even worry about fixing anymore. The value's not there, so we're having to get back up to date. We also can increase training hours by not only having more time to train, but also more funds to send people to specialized training to get better at our job. And upgrade to record keeping. A lot of our guys are still using paper tickets to keep up with maintenance records, call volumes, and all that stuff. If we have better records, again, ISO takes that an example, for example, to lower your ISO ratings so you know you're getting your stuff done. Again, just that ISO rating and how it helped. In Station 51 after 2018, or excuse me, Zone 5, we had around 2,068 rooftops in this particular zone. Going from a homeowner rate from a 10, which is uninsured, just to a 7, which is pretty easy to do. That alone will save just my one zone $758,000 a year for all those premiums. Just one small area in that whole map of the county. So just to have a 7, if I take that and stretch it across the entire rural area, we're talking millions of dollars savings just for having a fire department there. And a 7 is a pretty high rating. If we were able to get our equipment upgraded, pack some water shuttles, get some tankers in service, we can get everybody down to hopefully a 5. And we're talking $1 million a zone for $1 million for that small area. So the amount of money we can save the citizens is quite a bit, just for giving us a little bit. We're going to save them way more than you're going to give us. So a couple funding avenues, this is always the fun question for this group, is how can you fund us? You don't want to get into liability and all that fun things. I know the 50% number came up a lot last year. I think we've gotten past that finally. But there's a couple of different ways. We're always looking for grants to save the citizens money and save taxpayers. We have federal grants, Tennessee state grants, even private corporations, firehouse sales that give us money if we are awarded. Homeowner donations, of course, we do mail outs twice a year, a lot of us. There's Facebook donations, PayPal, Amazon Smile is a charity campaign that we use. So we really do take up every avenue that's out there to bring us money so that we don't have to ask for it or ask more from the citizens. But at the end of the day, it's all coming from taxpayers one way or another. It's either coming federally from taxpayers, statewide from taxpayers, or whoever's shopping at Amazon and Firehouse. But also, one thing too, is with volunteers, for every hour we're out there having a fundraise and run calls and do all these things that we have to do for the volunteer fire service, it's another hour away from our families. And I can attest for everybody here, we love our jobs, but I've missed birthday parties, I've missed Christmas, and all that, fighting fires. The worst thing in the world is to get off a bad call or something and have to go out and beg people for money just so we can stay afloat and put gas in the trucks. And that is not doom and gloom, that's real life. The national average of supporting your fire department from a national average from support your fire departments give and on a national level from governments. I know 50% was a big number here, but in the United States Fire Department administrative, it says 50 to 90% of all volunteer fire department funding comes from the government. 50 to 90. Tennessee's average is 80%. So again, this kind of shows you how behind Sumner County is in a lot of this. So talk about the funding formula you're ready to see.
So we're at 15 minutes. We've
I had 30, right?
You have.
We were
We were a little bit over. A little like 5 or 6.
Well, I started at 5:30, I think. I mean, sorry, 10:30.
Well, we've got.
We were 15 minutes.
We were a little behind, so I'll try to keep. Can you keep it to 5? Because we also need to ask you questions.
Of course. The important part is next.
All right, so let's.
This is the money. So, right here, the funding formula, just so you know where it came from, it was made by MTAS, or CTAS, excuse me. It was made in like 97 or 6 is when we got it from initially. It is backed by a bunch of TCA codes, so it is completely legal. There is no question about that. What this does, the way we've been doing it in Sumner County for a very long time, is you pay us per station. So if you have 3 stations, you get $24,000 with times 3, 73,000. If you have one station, you get 24,000. Well, that's not the fairest way. So you look by road mileage and all those other things, we have as big a zone, doesn't matter if you got one station or 3 in a lot of cases. But so we try to find a better way to do it. We decided that if we do it by this way, it goes by homeowner values in that zone. So if you have a lot more rooftops, you get more money because you're protecting more stuff, more densely populated. So again, property values, how they increase. Just a couple examples here. The big one's Cotton Town. Went from 70 million in 2018. These are current numbers for 2024. Now they're at 513 million, and that's a little short amount of time. Big ones like Shackle Island went from 237 million to 1.5 billion dollars in property protected in their rural fire zones. So that's how important our job is. Southeast, 147 million to $1 billion. Again, these are verified by the tax assessor here in Tennessee, and I'll give you a copy of it if anybody wants it. Or here in Sumner County, not Tennessee. So here's the ask. I'm glad you're all sitting down. Don't get up. Get on with your thing. But we're asking for $1,023,000 is the big ask. That's about double what we have been getting. One thing that we have had in the past is $325,000 from that goes in that donation per station, and then $138,000 with a group effort. We have to come back and ask for it. We want to get rid of all that and go to one revenue source. The way we figured this up is taking every station, taking your ISO rating that you already have currently, your property assessed value per million, times that by $130 per million. That's all I'm asking for. It's less than a Netflix subscription per house. If you take the average in Sumner County was $435,000 per home. Again, so
Wait, are you suggesting that you said a subscription? Are you suggesting?
No, I'm saying the money we're asking for per money from the housing is less than a Netflix subscription. So it's just cheaper. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm not asking for a lot of money here.
But you're not suggesting that we begin a subscription.
Oh, God, no. I'm using that as an example.
Well, maybe that isn't.
That's not what I'm asking for. If you ask for it, we'll talk. But what this is saying here is I'm asking for $130 per $1 million evaluation of property in our area. So if you figure that out, your national average, like I said, or it's national average, your Sumner County average is $435,000 per home. So you take a little under half of that at $65 per average home in Sumner County. That's less than your Netflix subscription a year.
I get it.
So that's how much we're asking for. But anyways, all those numbers together bring us to $1,023,000. All right. So I got a lot of things that wouldn't want to go as far as new business and all, but that isn't important to you.
Well, it is. I'd like to be able to have folks. I actually kind of want to explore that. You mentioned subscription. Well, is there precedent for that?
What do you mean by subscription? You mean
like so?
There's a fire tax, which that's.
No. I mean like a. Go ahead.
So, one thing that's missing from your funding formula request that you guys aren't talking about is you moving to a subscription-based model like Blount County does it, and so does the city of Karnes and Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Blount County is actually a public utility, and where they get federal grants. The city of Karnes is subscription-based, based on per household, and so if you subscribe, you're covered. If you don't, you get charged a bill, a couple $1,000 if you respond. I just wondered why you guys aren't pursuing a subscription-based model. Because that's a practical model.
It is a practical model. It's not one I'm particularly comfortable with.
Why not?
Because if I went to somebody's home, I said, listen, you're paying your homeowner's insurance already, but I need you to pay me extra money in case you get a fire. That way, if we respond out here, you're covered. But if you're not covered, hey, I've got to charge you this amount of money when we respond.
Well, you're asking the taxpayers to pay extra money just in case.
I'm asking for the same thing you are. I'm just asking about a different direction.
Well, I know, but
If they don't pay your subscription, you're gonna sit there and watch your house burn.
That's what I said.
Well,
We try to do that.
and as far as
there's a precedent.
there is, Fulton City used to do it.
There's a precedent.
Fulton City did it for a long time, but it's not as.
So first off, you guys have responded to a home of mine once. It was a rental property I had. There was a tree that fell on. I wanted to cut it off, but you didn't respond. I appreciated it. So that just popped in my head. I would pay it. I would pay that.
Right.
But so I have when I really think about it, and I'm just kind of exploring this here. property, this is a separate thing, that had, just recently, there was a, cave-in my backyard. And so I spent $10,000 to replace it after right over the sewage line. Terrible, just bad luck. But it was an emergency. I had water backing up into it. It was maybe not as bad as a fire, but I mean, I had to have something to take care of it that day. I called a professional. They came out, removed the water, dug into my yard, and they charged me $10,000. So now they charge it after it was done. So I mean, fundamentally, I'm just applying a market-based principle.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally, I'm not saying that you would let somebody's house burn, but you send them a bill.
You're right, but here's the one thing, is because we are a nonprofit, we can't, if they don't pay it, I have no recourse.
Yeah.
And so if I come out, you don't pay your bill, and I charge you $5,000 for whatever market rate is for FEMA. And I say, okay, you owe me $5,000, I put your house up, and they go, I'm not paying you nothing. Then I go, okay, and that's all I can do, I have no recourse.
You might have to change your structure.
I can, the insurance only figures in about $500 for structure fires and all that stuff, and they have, and it's only some insurances. And it's only, we request it sometimes, but they have no obligation to pay us. And so, again, what I'm looking at here is all these other counties, and where their funding is, and where Sumner County is, versus the population, how far behind we already are.
So I know we're outside of rules. And then, go ahead.
Basically, do like the county system, we're gonna give you this money, operate volunteer fire departments, which is the way we're doing it now. A utility model that allows this state codes, subscriptions. And then the other way is, similar to Bradley County, which is the combination department, they have a millage tax on the county residents.
You don't have to be a utility department in order to do the.
No, we don't. It's just that's what it's.
You want this, but they're the only one that.
You don't have to.
So here's the thing.
Okay. I was firefighter in South Carolina for a number of years, and we did operate under a subscription basis like that. And these had to be approved by the county and all. And originally, when I first moved down there, there was no requirement. We couldn't require the people to pay. And we even at one time the property assessor's office would somebody complain about the taxes, and they say if you don't want to pay that $25, you don't have to pay it. We got to stop doing that. We also worked with the county, increased, actually put the subscription basis on a variable rate for lower property values versus high. And also the county, and there may be some different ones here in Tennessee, laws in Tennessee, but there, again, we've got to look at that. We were allowed to force collection.
So and I appreciate it, so you clearly have some, there's multiple ways to go about doing this, and here's my take on it. So I've spoken with two previous budget chairmen, and they both, this is a continuing problem, and it's only going to get worse.
Yes, sir.
So what I would submit is that, and I'm not saying no, we have a lot of debate here. What I would submit is that just doubling your budget is, if that's going to be a Band-Aid, you're going to end up wanting to double it again at some point. What I'm suggesting is that we need to explore how to solve this problem in a sustainable way.
Agreed.
That's what we're going to have to.
Yeah, may I say one thing about that, though?
Yeah, and then we're going to get Terry, and then we're going to get you, and then we're going to have to.
Of course. But real quick, one thing I'm asking for is, on this contract that I've handed out, everybody's seen for a few months now, I hope, is that's going to lock us in at whatever price we decide for whatever period we decide. So you're talking about, I double this year, I'm going to double next year. Using that formula that I was showing you a minute ago, that gives us precedent. Come on. That says that, hey, this is how we're figuring our funding from here on out. We're doing it for millions that are in that house, that area. So if you say, that's the contract we go with, you say on a contract for, just say, 5 years until the next round of property assessments, then for the next 5 years, our budget's set up.
Well, I understand, but I also know how things go. I mean, but anyway, I get it.
I just wanted to share what Wilson County does, and I am not advocating this, I just want to share it so that y'all all have this. Weston Robertson, I believe, told me Wilson County uses the sales tax from out in the rural part of the county to pay for theirs. Now, we direct our sales tax out in the county somewhere else, but I just wanted to share with you, that's what Wilson is doing. I'm not advocating it, just want you to know that.
Coming from the school department.
It would move it from the school.
They would move it from school.
And like I said, I didn't want to advocate, I just want you to know
No,
what we're
this
doing.
is, what we're talking about here is options.
Yeah,
I mean, I
that's
get
it, throwing another one.
You know, I knew very little about this before I became a commissioner, and last year during the budget, I learned about ISO. And so I had just recently gotten a request from my volunteer fire area. So I wrote a check for $500, and it took them 6 months to cash it. And so I had a conversation with that chief, and I said, you know, if the people just knew how much money they could save on insurance because of the ISO ratings, they would probably donate a lot more. Well, I wrote another $500 check in November, and it still hasn't been cashed.
Which fire department do you go to, or you subscribe to?
Southeast.
Southeast, okay. I call Charlie, he's telling me his budget be on, or his treasurer. That's a problem. I can tell you, that man over there, at the end, my fire chief, when he gets a check, he cashes it within minutes.
But what I suggest is you've got a great marketing approach.
I do.
That ISO is critical to the citizens knowing how much they can save in insurance.
Because if I make, last thing I know you're ready to move on, about that same thing, is you were right. Now, if I was a marketing guy, and if I had the time to market, I can. But going back to this whole presentation, where I am, I don't have time to sit there and market and be on Facebook every day and try to convince people. I mean, just like I'm having to sit here and talk to you today for money here, if I go in front of every home I have, especially if they don't understand how important I am, then they're not going to do it. I mean, it's a lot of time I'm trying to save so I can get on to the important things. That way the money's just saved.
Okay, so we've got to get going.
Of course.
10 seconds, and also, this is going to be the last comment.
Yes, bottom line is, there's maybe some options can be looked at. I know y'all got the budget to get done, is we've got to have more money to continue to operate. Whether it's 1 year, and then look at these other options, or get these other options done. And this was one that we thought was really started selling, and it worked. I mean, it's just another way.
Must have come out of this.
You guys did an ISO.
Great presentation.
Great presentation on the rating. I appreciate you guys coming prepared.
Yeah.
You want to check 2 shirts, correct?
Yeah.
I know y'all usually comment about it.
Thank y'all, and I'm hoping to get through everything in our workshop.
They don't have that.
That's what I'm saying, I promise you, toward the end, we're gonna have another day as well.
I'll be here anyway.
ISO rated model.
All right, thank you, guys. All righty,
Most accountable is that one.
Let's do Ashley's place. I'm gonna try to catch up real quick. I mean, we're behind.
I can stay for a while.
All right, thank you.
I can definitely work with that. Good morning. I think most of you are probably familiar with what we do. Of course, Ashley's Place is unique in that we are a nonprofit, but we are by state statute part of the investigative team for all severe child abuse investigations. So that's going to be child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, child death, and then some severe drug exposure, depending on the age of the child and the type of drug. Probably 95% of what we work with is going to be child sex abuse within our county. That is the majority of the cases that are getting probably all or a good chunk of the services that we provide. When we look at statistically, 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused before their 18th birthday. I always like to use a visual when we think of a classroom. There's about 30 kids in every class. That's 3 kids out of every class when you think of the number of classrooms across the county. 70% of all victims of sexual assault, including those, including those with adult victims, 70% of those sexual assaults occur to children 17 and younger. That's a lot of kids. So So as a CAC, we are providing a coordinated approach to those severe child abuse investigations. We are providing the child forensic interviews. Those are recorded. Those can be used in any court proceeding that child or that prosecution or case, even in juvenile court, even if it's not from a criminal prosecution, but general sessions and prelims in our criminal court trials does not replace the child going to court, but it does put that child in a situation where we can show a jury that video with that child on the stand, and they can see and hear all the details of that abuse without that child up there going through, once again, all the details of that horrific abuse that they have been subjected to. We're providing victim advocacy throughout the investigation, throughout the prosecution process, court accompaniment, filing for victims' comp, making sure kids and families are getting services that they need. We provide direct therapy services, prevention education out in the county. We coordinate that CIPIT team piece, that TCA code, that is the Child Protective Investigative Team. We're the coordinating agent for that with our law enforcement, the DA's office, Department of Children's Services, juvenile court is part of that, and then our medical piece, our kids is out of Nashville. We utilize them for our child sex abuse medical exams. We are not asking for an increase this year, honestly. Can't say that we won't be in a position where we will have to down the road, but this is not the year that we need to do that, and so it's just not going to do it.
Thank you. Just let me ask this real quick. And I'm trusting everybody, but what's your current operating budget? How much do you have in reserves?
We have got, right now, I would say maybe 100,000. I'll notice if you look at our budget, there's some one-time state appropriation funding that's going to make our budget look a lot more than what it is. That's one-time funding. It's on there. It's kind of listed as like, as far as like on the budget, it should be on the budget. It says like SA21, SA31. That is one-time state appropriation funding that is being used for building much-needed building improvements. So that's a big chunk of what's showing as our budget. That's not going to be, that's not direct services.
It's not operating budget.
That's new roofs, new siding, some renovations, parking lot stuff. That money, fortunately, we had gotten, and it's a one-time deal that we're able to get those things done for the building and, to continue to provide, this direct service.
So what percent of your operating budget is so your operating budget is about $100,000 a year?
Our overall budget, when you look at, we usually stay around like the 259 overall.
Okay, so 259.
Is what and then when you look at, when I wrote down, when you look at the National Children's Advocacy Center, there's a cost analysis benefit out there that says when you look at that team approach, it saves $1,000 per child, per investigation. So I took just even looking at Sumner County Sheriff's Department and looking at their number of cases. So last year they had 128 severe child abuse cases. So you look at that as a savings. If we're looking at $100,000 per child, that's $128,000. That that team approach, which comes from the Child Advocacy Center and the services that we're providing, it's a savings to that county. So we're asking for a very small, that $7,000, which as I said is not an increase, is a very small drop in the bucket, but yet, obviously needed and instrumental in providing those direct services. And this is not to mention, even more importantly, I know the money is important and budgeting is important, and we have to have obviously sound budgeting around that. But just when you even look at the re-victimization and the psychological impact on a child victim when they're not having a forensic interview and they're having to be subjected to multiple different interviews, they're not getting victim advocacy services, they're being put into an adult setting in a court, situation in front of their offender, not having that court prep. Nobody else is going to be providing that except for us as the CAC.
How much of your funding comes from state or other grants?
We have, two contracts with Department of Children's Services in the state of Tennessee that equal $82,000. We're working on trying to get those increased because they've not had an increase in several years. And our director of our chapter is working on that piece of it as well. We have $32,000 in VOCA federal funding. That funds my family victim advocate position. One of the state contracts funds partially my forensic interviewer. That doesn't even cover all of her position. It's just a small portion of that. And then we also have Memorial Foundation, United Way. United Way funds probably about 40% 45% of our therapy budget. National Children's Alliance, again, would be considered federal, but that also goes towards some of our therapy budget as well. And then all the rest is just some of our Gallatin City, Portland City, County, Hendersonville, private donations, some court donations, and just kind of a hodgepodge of various.
I love your organization, and I don't have any trouble like getting more money, but I have two questions. Down in our, Mr. Law, down in our non-allocated, we have some Ashley money also.
No.
Did we give some down there?
No, the non-allocated is for your charitable giving. Actually,
And I
it's not
think we
considered
get-
charitable.
we
No.
get-
There was some
I just wanna-
COVID relief funding.
A couple years back.
A couple years back.
Okay,
that
I
there was
thought,
that.
and
No,
then,
they're considered non.
I was wondering if you have been working with our opiate board to get some money for, because I think that, because the children that, have you worked with our opiate board, or have you met, Dustin, what's the?
Dustin.
Have you met? No. We need to, we've got some money, if we can invest in education, then our opiate money, we have a higher return. And also, that's where I would like to see it going, and I feel like we could do that. Mr. Long, can you hook her up with
She can just
Dustin?
email her.
He was here.
Just-
I'll tell that's been very good.
Yeah, he has all kinds of resources, but also looking at our opiate money, right now, we're $980,000 a year for the next 18 years. We've got.
Not guaranteed, maybe.
Not guaranteed, but
Sure.
we've got, we might use you some more money.
Yeah, absolutely, I'd be
And
happy
Dustin
to talk to
has
them.
lots of resources.
It just has to be opioid related. It has to be opioid related.
Well, I'm sure she's got.
I mean, there would be a percentage, and that's why I'd be interested
Yeah.
to talk to him to see, because I know the majority of what we're seeing is gonna be sex abuse, and we do see,
But if their parents were on drugs, then it's.
yeah.
Yeah, somebody in the family.
I mean, there's gonna be a percentage
Work with him,
connection there,
he's
for sure.
knowledgeable, I just wanna make that clear.
Yeah, absolutely, I'd love to talk to him,
Yeah.
because there may be something we can tap onto.
Yes, definitely, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work you did.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, is that it?
Yeah,
All
sorry,
right,
I know I'm
thank you.
right.
You're good.
All right, so we skipped, archives, so we're gonna have, archives come up real quick, and if we can go relatively quick.
Come to the mayor. It's on page 43, and the salaries on the board, and they asked for the 11%.
Go ahead, man.
Hey, everybody, Martin, I wanted over there, I wanted to look over there. I just wanted to point out that we have reduced our budget, in the children's supplies and also, office supplies. And this is directly, and I pointed this out last year's budget as well, and maybe this year even more so. Because we're using those special equipment that we got grants and donations for, which costs the county pretty much nothing. All it takes is grants and some donations, except for the printer we had to buy and monitor. So we're talking about almost $30,000 worth of equipment that we have gotten for the archives. The only other thing that I'm asking for is an increase in salaries. And one of the reasons is that when you compare it to the other counties, and I think the closest is Wilson County, their last year's budget for their supervisor was $62,109. They just hired a full-time clerical staff, $40,788. Our clerical staff, which is the principal, has been there for 7 years, and I myself have been there since 2009, and full-time since 2010. So those are the really big increases, and of course, I am asking for increases in office supplies and for, toner. And that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions?
We'll also have to, the new way they're breaking out the phones, we're gonna have to add a little bit of money into our budget for the phone system. So I don't have that exact amount yet. It's been paid out of county buildings in the past, but with this new implementation, they're breaking it down by departments. So as soon as we get that number, we'll need to.
IT's breaking that into new. You guys may want to look at, and you started it last year, was putting all the funding to the departments where they go, you moved jail utilities, you may want to look at that a little closer this year.
Yeah.
Just like EMS, I've noticed several of those things are paid through county buildings.
Yeah.
probably need to decrease County Building and push it over to EMS.
We try and, I mean, what they're doing with the radios is actually right.
Right.
Putting that all in.
Because we want to get, but you need to decrease the lines and decrease these lines, just like EMS, I noticed several things still in County Building.
Just like County Building.
The County Buildings probably need several things pulled out and moved over to EMS to get a true cost.
Yeah, I like that, absolutely.
We'll talk about that on that other meeting. I think the mayor may be doing the next one, or are you doing the regional transportation? Just as were they gonna show up, or the regional transportation?
The RGA, they said that, they asked me if it was required to come, and I said no, I heard.
Okay.
But Tennessee Rehabilitation.
Where are they at?
What page are they on?
They're on page 79, the Regional Transportation Alliance, and that's why I was asking John, because in the past the mayor has presented, but I don't know if they will this year or not.
Well, I can tell you what it is, and I was just texting Mayor Hendersonville to see if they were participating, but it's a program that Gallatin and, City of Hendersonville and City of Gallatin, City of Hendersonville, and Sumner County participate in. I've been doing it for years. It's basically a bus service.
Where's this at?
To the national back.
No, where is it? Okay, I see.
Regional Transportation Authority.
Under contributions?
Do you want us to bring their actual request back to that next meeting where you can read over it, since they didn't get that? Can you make a note about that for that next 4-hour meeting, to bring their request? We'll have, if it's okay on the next meeting that you guys have, we'll bring the request where you can look at it in detail. Because we fund a percentage, and it's based, I think Nashville participates too, it's a whole group here. We'll have all the details.
So Trans Alliance, rehab center? Oh, no, sorry, so we're transportation.
They're on page 70, they're item D.
You right here for the rehab center?
Yeah, they're on the back, they're still there. They're on page 70 of the budget. I think they're the ones with the, building that was.
Yeah, we do, yeah, see,
Like,
somebody, not us.
This should be on page, make sure.
Oh, I see, okay.
They're renting their own building, they used to rent from us.
Yeah, we lost that money.
Can you tell us where you're renting that building at from now, where you guys are at now?
The building, we've been out of it for a little over.
No, where are you at now?
We are in the American Job Center on Greenwood.
So that's from, rented from the state, or?
We're renting it from the Department of Labor.
Forward Sumner and all, where that is?
Yes.
Where all that is.
That new building in Greenwood,
All right. Go ahead.
Along with the CTRC, the Community Tennessee Rehabilitation Center of Gallatin. We provide services to assist individuals with disabilities to get and keep a job. The program that funds the CTRC has a 30-70 match, 30% from local government, with a 70% match from the federal government.
I think the question that came up last year was from Ms. Boyd, was how many people you serviced a year? That's her question.
Roughly, last year, between 40 and 50, directly. We did we hosted a community resource fair a little over 2 weeks ago, here in Gallatin, and had a little over 30, unhoused individuals come and, get information and get assistance from the groups we arranged there, and, several of them also signed up for both rehab services.
Are your numbers different now than they have been in the past? Are they declining, increasing, or remaining the same?
It seems to me we're roughly staying the same or increasing some, especially as, well, one of my jobs is to get word about what both rehab is out to the community, and that seems to be getting out more. I mean, honestly, I didn't know what both rehab was before I applied for the job. I had not heard of it, and I had family members who could have benefited from it. So that's one of the things that I'm trying my best to do, is make sure to get word out, and I think that's definitely increasing. Matter of fact, that's one of our goals this year, is to increase referrals and applications and successful closures.
And you're mostly funded by the state?
mostly funded by the federal government.
Federal government.
Yeah, the money from the federal government is given to the state, and then the state disperses.
Okay, and what is your operating budget per year?
50,000.
That's just from your $1,000, that's what we donate them, so. So it's
The,
probably 160-some thousand, I guess.
So the number that was, given to me, this year was 490,174.
That's a lot more than 2 to 1.
Well, the 50,000 that we're requesting is what was given to us last year.
And this is from, so you're getting some from the county, some from the city of Gallatin?
Just some from the county.
That's it, but how, so you, I thought it was a 2 to 1.
It's 30% local.
Yeah.
County and state.
But if that's, if you got $491,000, that's like we're giving you like 11%, 12%.
The, one kind of rule that CTRCs have learned is, asking for more may get us nothing. So last year, 50,000 was what we were provided, so that's what we're asking for.
How many employees do you have, including yourself?
Myself and,
Just the two of you?
How do you
I like
get
that
the
rule.
word out to the
So you
community
guys
about
are
your
donating $1,000
Um,
per person.
well, first I'm networking with a lot of nonprofits in the area, through, the Sumner County Collaborative.
Should give them like 12.
I'm finding any resource fairs that are being put on, and setting up tables, with information about, both rehab services there. I am trying to network with a lot of local businesses as well, to find out, some of them have, current employees that can do that.
Mayor, is this something we could advertise on our website?
Apologies.
That's okay. Is this something we could help them get out the word on our website periodically?
Absolutely.
Have you considered that?
That would be great. I mean, we've got,
Give me the information, I'll be more happy to help you.
yes, I've got a PDF of this flyer that I can. That would be great. Anything to help us get the word out, because it's, as I've been working
That
with the
might be more
program.
valuable for you than the money we're gonna give you. Free advertisement.
Well, the free advertisement definitely helps for both rehab.
Historically, how old is the program?
I believe that the CTRCs were created in 1967.
Oh, my God.
The, law that was passed by the state legislature that year created CTRCs in areas that were, at the time, considered rural areas that weren't getting the services that were being provided in the larger cities. Gallatin was considered a rural area at the time, so this is where they set up. That's also where they, I believe when they started the funding, how they set up the funding.
What's your name?
That's Chris Slater, SLATE.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Transit Alliance.
Also agree with Chris Slater.
Chris Slater.
Chris Slater. Jessica remembers everybody's name. Oh, did you? That's like unusual for her not to remember names.
We are,
You're like, who's that person that we
Yeah,
had?
that's
You're
your
not-
rep.
you're not-
Last year because.
we have anybody from Transit Alliance?
Because they were using that money to rent the TRC from us, dollar for dollar.